First question about your whole career. Your two first film, if I am not wrong, they were about pandemic, disease, and to body. How do you say it? Yeah, body transformation, and just like a bit Cronenberg, body horror. Why do you choose to change the category of your film for the?
Um, I don't know. I don't. I'm gonna lean forward. Actually, do you want to change? Yeah. I don't know why, and interestingly, I don't know why I did two movies like that to begin with. I think the first one kind of happened by chance, and then when Stakeland happened, I didn't want to do it at first because it was another movie about sort of. I felt like it was the same sort of thing, and it was really the idea that we were doing it in a completely different way. We were doing it outside and all over the place. And it was more of a Western really than anything. So that's how the second one came about. And then, in general, I like movies and filmmakers that change things up every movie, and so that's why, as soon as we finished Stakeland, it was like I just want to do a really quiet movie and do a movie that is just a couple characters and it's in a very contained, closed space, and not do a big, epic, sprawling Western like Stakeland. So that was a very conscious effort to do something very different and show that we could do something quiet and subtle and not handheld all the time and do something very different. And then we have a new film that we're finishing up now, and it's very different from any of these films. So I hope I get to keep doing that.
For We Are What We Are. People like or hate the film. Do you think the last scene is too much, or is the perfect thing for the film for saying we are what we are?
Right. Yeah. To me, it's the perfect ending, and I know it won't be that for everybody, and obviously it wasn't like that for people today. And at the director's fortnight screening, the first question I got was a woman who stood up and said, "Your movie was great," and then the last couple minutes it was way too bloody, and you ruined your movie by making it too bloody. So it's I just said thanks for your opinion. I disagree. Yeah, to me it had to be that, and I love extreme storytelling, and I love films that get a really big reaction and create a big emotion, and to me it's the perfect ending. I can see how it would be too much for some people who aren't used to that, but I'm a horror movie fan and I see these movies all the time, and so it's never too much for me. I think what also contrasts it is the fact that up until then it's such a quiet, ungory film. So to me that's interesting. I love it.
So you said you're a big movie fan. So do you have any inspirations, like movies you used to?
Yeah.
Well, for the two first one, and this one too?
Yeah, definitely. Not as much for this one. Well, a lot of Japanese horror films for this one. I loved when those movies started coming out. I just loved them, and I loved the confidence that they had to be creepy without having to be overtly scary and have a monster. And the fact that they could just hold sort of an awkward wide frame for a long time and not cut away and have that be terrifying. I just love that. And so that was a big influence on this film, and we set out and said we wanted to make. I told the crew we're going to make a backwoods Japanese horror film. If David Lynch went to the woods and made a Japanese horror film, I want it to be We Are What We Are. And then for the first two, Night of the Living Dead, obviously huge, and then The Descent, I think is the last great horror film, and the way that played with character and so many different primal fears of monsters and afraid of the dark and claustrophobia. The fact that it combined all that into one film, I think, is amazing. And Sam Raimi was the first thing that really got me interested in filmmaking, and Army of Darkness. I saw that when I was like 13, and it was just blew me away that you could have so much fun making a movie and have that show in the film. And so that was the first time that I really connected and said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so far I've gotten to do it, but it all was really due to Sam Raimi.
I have a question for props. Props are always in the film, but in the last scene there are the explosion of props. For you, I think there are the paroxysm of the scene with these props, the scratch bones, flesh.
What's the question? Is it?
The question is for you: is it enough blood or more blood?
In We Are What We Are, or in general?
In general.
No, I always find it's really tough. I always find that usually people get it right, but a lot of times I have to come in and say like, no, more blood, more, only because I see a lot of horror films, and I think, when you work with people that don't see a lot or make a lot of horror films, you start and you say, okay, there's a bloody something, and they'll put a couple drops on it, and you're like, no, this, in reality, there's a lot of blood. I went through a horrific experience recently in real life that involved someone that got in an accident, and I was amazed at how much real blood there was and how intense it really was, and that was after the making of this, but it did teach me a lesson of like how in reality how much there really is when something horrible happens. So yeah.
I always said people who make a film with zombie is a good guy. Do you like there are some funny film with zombie?
Yeah.
Do you like this?
Yeah, I do. My dog is named Zombie. My dog is the black and white dog in the movie that digs the bone up. That's my dog. Her name is Zombie. And I do. I love all those movies. I love, Shaun of the Dead and Bad Taste and Dead Alive. Those were two movies that growing up were huge influences. I would just watch those two and Army of Darkness on a loop for my whole summer of being 13 years old. So that was kind of the trajectory that I went in and wanted to continue doing. And there hasn't really been a great funny zombie movie recently. I mean, since Shaun of the Dead, I can't think of like a really great one. Can you?
Good question.
Next, will you make a new zombie film with you, an actor? Do you can you make the zombie and can you play the role in your own film?
Can I play the role?
Yeah.
No, I'm terrible in front of the camera. That's why I stay behind it. I'm terrible. And after Mulberry Street and Stakeland, I think I don't know if I'd ever want to do zombies or zombie sort of a theme again. I've read a couple interesting ones, but as soon as I think about, getting back into people attacking another person with their hands, like I just don't want to shoot that again. I've done it too often.
I had the last question. It's about the movie title. We Are What We Are. Is it a pun with We Are What We Eat?
No, I never thought about that. Oh, you are what you eat. No, I never even thought about that. I always took it as very literal, for better or for worse, we are what we are. This is who we are, and even though we're taught something, and even though we in our heart we think it's wrong, we are what we are. I always loved that title. That was from the original too. Yeah, we can't change. Well, the ending was a big thing. When they drive off in the truck, they still have the book with them, and it's I thought that was an interesting question of like, do they go on to do this completely, or do they go on and just take the elements that they love? Like religion, do they take the really compassionate, beautiful elements, or do they just take the horrific, violent ones? I don't know, but that was what we wanted to sort of ask with that last shot.
Last question for me. Do you make your own collection of props?
I don't. I did early on, you mean like afterwards you collect stuff? What do I have now? I have the girl in the lake with the that they pull out of the lake, the drowned girl with the pink rain jacket on. I have her. She sits next to my editing desk, and then I have a hand from Mulberry Street that we used to squish, and then the nun vampire from Stakeland. I have the head up on my wall. So yes. And I don't know if I have one from the new film. So I'm gonna have to get a fourth cool prop.
D'autres questions?
Ouais, mais de toute façon,
Bah, toi qui viens pas. Is it no problem for? Okay. Okay.
So you say you're a big fan too of Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Do you want to, shoot a movie with him, or just working out maybe Evil Dead 4, working with Bruce Campbell and
Right,
another pattern like that?
I don't know. I don't know because in reality, as much as I love Sam Raimi, the movies, and I hate to say it because I'm a huge fan of his, but the ones that he's produced recently aren't that great. The ones and like thinking about like The Messengers or whatever the name was. There's a lot of movies that he's come on to produce that I think are not very good, and I think I hope he's still good, but I think there's also an element that when you get to Hollywood, when you get to a studio, when you get to a certain size, it becomes a business, and I wonder if he hasn't crossed over to that point. I hope not, because I think Evil Dead, the remake, I think there was a lot of great pieces of that, and so I think there's still a great, horror movie fan in there somewhere.
I think now the next generation of producers, they are people who make horror films. They are geeks.
Yeah.
Are you geeks?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a geek. Yeah. I mean, I'll see everything that comes out, and I know it's going to be bad, and I'll watch it anyway, and I'll still like it. So, yeah, definitely. Cassie DePaiva, the woman that plays the mother that drowns at the beginning of the film, is Bobby Joe from Evil Dead 2. Remember she's the lead woman. That's her now. That was the last movie she did was Evil Dead, and then she was on soap operas for I think 25 years. So, in between Evil Dead and basically her whole movie career is Evil Dead 2, and we are, which I'm proud to say.
And the book is Necronomicon.
Necronomicon?
In Evil Dead.
No, we didn't give it a name.
It could be.
It could be, yeah.
Maybe next time for Evil Dead 4, 5, 6.
Yeah,
maybe?
maybe we'll do 4. That would be cool. Did they? Are they?
I don't know.
You don't want to come, maybe.
Hey Charlie, do we have time for one more? Do we have time for one more question?
Okay. Okay.
J'ai fini la question, mais je l'ai oublié.
The next film, an ID.
Next film, yeah, we already shot. Just shot a film that finished shooting on Saturday, so that will come out sometime next year. It's based on. Do you know Joe Lansdale, author? He wrote Bubba Hotep, the book that Bubba Hotep is based on, and it's a adaptation of another of his books that he wrote in the '80s. But it's more like No Country for Old Men or Blood Simple. It's like a '80s Texas kind of film noir, but really good cast. Michael C. Hall from Dexter is the lead in it, and Sam Shepard and Don Johnson from Miami Vice is comes in at the middle of the movie, and he's pretty awesome. But it's gonna be cool. It'll be very different from these. It won't. There's definitely really scary shit in it, but it's not a horror film.
One last quick. Do you consider We Are What We Are as a horror movie, really, or something else?
Yeah, no, I don't. I think it's more family drama that happens to have horrific elements to it. But I don't think it's a horror film. I don't know. It's a good question. I think it's for the audience to decide. But we always treat it like a family story. And when you work with the actors and you work with the crew and everybody, you just talk about it as a story of a family that's going through a traumatic experience. You don't really look at it as a story about a family of monsters, really. So no, family melodrama.